From the north side of the San Francisco Bay to Singapore, welcome to Urban X Real Talk Fitness Radio with your host, business owner, lecturer, author, master trainer, Tiaja. With over 30 years of experience in the health and fitness industry, he will challenge the fitness between your ears. So prepare your mind, body, and soul for the revolution of self-care, the evolution of fit, with real talk about real people, real health, real fitness, and the real deal behind our present illness culture. Real talk every time, all the time. Get weekly insights on how to shift your thinking, emoting, eating, training, hydrating, goal setting, and resting for you, the everyday athlete. You can cheat your fitness, but you can't steal your health flow. It's Tuesday, 9 a.m. Let's flow.
Every child in America should be able to play outside without fear, walk home without danger, and attend a school without being worried about drugs or gangs or violence.
Dear Mr. President.
Dear Mr. President.
Dear Mr. President.
I'm excited for a political outsider that can solve the disconnect between the American citizens and the legislators in Washington.
When you speak on things that make me feel uncomfortable or I disagree with, you make me feel small because I know I can't change it.
I want you to know that I don't like your definition of American because I don't seem to fit within it.
Most of my family is black. I'm afraid that you're going to hurt some of us blacks.
Right now, you're just kind of in the middle. You're swaying towards bad, but I think you can sway back to good.
You are here attempting to whitewash America.
You're gonna separate me away from my family, and I really don't want that because I love them so much.
You are feared among many. However, you have time to build upon that.
Some of my friends are really scared about you building a wall and the travel ban because a lot of their families live in different places.
Well, maybe next time just sit down in a quiet room and fully think about what you're gonna do before you do it.
It's not fair for refugees.
There is no need to garner so much hate for countries based on the actions of a single group or organization.
Dear Mr. President, I want you to know that us kids are not always wrong.
You may be the most powerful man in the country, but you are still the servant to every single one of us.
Dear President Obama.
Hi, my name is Marco.
We have some advice for you.
I am writing this letter because I want you to stop the war in Iraq and make the economy better.
I bet your family is really happy that you won the election, and so am I.
Please stop global warming.
Clean up the ocean.
Could you help all the animals in the shelter? Because animals need love and care.
How would you avoid shoes being thrown at you?
Try to make natural gas out of water or a car that can use waste as fuel because we're going to run out of gas.
My advice to you is really nothing because I believe that you could change the United States of America. Why are we fighting Iraq and why are we involved in every war?
You could give biscuits to the dogs and yarn to the cats. The best thing about living in the White House would be running around like a maniac.
I am very happy you are our president.
Mr. Obama, thank you for reading my letter about my problems. I like you being my president. I wish you good luck and to be elected again. Sincerely, Marco Ponce.
It's impossible not to feel something after listening to children express their sentiments about two U.S. presidents. After all, when it comes to politics, even most adults are torn. Adults too find themselves giving allegiance to one camp or another. So where do you think our children develop their worldviews? Where do you think their perceptions about health, race, politics, religion, or other people originate. 4-year-olds may be opinionated about a lot of things, but not so much about politics. To express fear or hatred or blind faith in someone, especially an adult who's not in one's immediate family, in many respects is troubling. But what choices do these kids really have? Think back to your childhood. Like most of you, I too blindly accepted the political, religious, and cultural views of my household. I can't recall a moment when I raised my hand in objection to anything my father said, or being handed a ballot or given permission to exercise my right to free speech. Free speech wasn't free in our household. You paid a price for speaking freely, either with a belt or some other form of corporal punishment. In fact, my first introduction to government was house government, but it certainly was no democracy. Thinking back, it was more a monarchy, and its only recognized constitution was my way or the highway. And we often hear the phrase that children are our future. Not so sure I believe that, given the abysmal state of children here in the United States. In the wealthiest nation in the history of the world, 1 in 5 of its children lives in poverty. But that doesn't stop those in power from using children as silent weapons. So why use children? Because children often lend simplicity and innocence to otherwise controversial or politically charged issues. Hearing a child's voice disarms adults for the simple fact it connects them to their own lost innocence. But children aren't really at all that innocent, nor are they empty slates as many child psychologists have presupposed. Innocence that is absent of experience isn't really innocence at all. It's ignorance. Welcome to Urban X Real Talk Fitness Radio, where we challenge the fitness between your ears. I'm your host, Tiaja, and today on episode 51, part 17 of our series titled The War on Health, Choice, and Common Sense, I want you to take a good look at the 5th strategy of Noam Chomsky's 10 media manipulation strategies. Strategy number 5 is really interesting because it is the one strategy that you will be most familiar with, not as a strategy per se, but with its imagery and the subliminal suggestions associated with it. More often than not, we like to believe that we act in our own best interest, but take a closer look. How many times in the last week have you chosen to engage in something that you knew you should not be doing? But here's a better one. How many times have you not engaged in something you knew you should be doing? Now consider the following mixed metaphor from a government manual called The Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. Everything that is expected from an ordinary weapon is expected from a silent weapon by its creators. Silent weapons shoot situations instead of bullets, propelled to act through manipulation, causing a biochemical breakdown versus a chemical explosion. Silent weapons originate from bits of data instead of grains of gunpowder, from a computer instead of a gun, operated by a programmer instead of a marksman, under the orders of invisible forces instead of a military general. A silent weapon makes no obvious explosive noises, causes no obvious physical or mental injuries, and does not obviously interfere with anyone's daily social life. Yet it makes an unmistakable noise, causes unmistakable physical and mental damage, and unmistakably interferes with the daily social life. The public cannot comprehend this weapon and therefore cannot believe that they are being attacked and subdued by such a weapon. And so you are presented with a child because the public might instinctively feel that something is wrong, but because of the perceived innocent nature of the child, they cannot express their feeling in a rational way or handle the problem logically. Yet unlike the child, they do not know how to cry for help or run away to safety. They do not know how to associate with others to defend themselves against their attackers. 2018 will be just another year unless you decide today that it won't be. It is Tuesday, July 24th, 2018. Let's flow.
Joining me now, 2 students from Parkland, Florida, who were key organizers of yesterday's marches, Cameron Caskey and Delaney Tarr. And to both of you, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Thank you for having us.
Cameron, it was a remarkable event. Hundreds of thousands of people marching on Washington and cities around the country. But in practical terms, what do you think you accomplished?
I think the best thing to come out of the march was the fact that while it was important to stand for what we believe in, and it was important that the people have come together on this unified front, I think that the fact that young people everywhere were taking initiative, standing up and leading in their communities showed that we've learned that our voices matter. And so many people came and registered to vote. So many people discussed voting. And if you look at the voter turnout for our age, it's embarrassing. So the fact that this movement has so many people realizing that it's important to get out to the polls is what I think is one of the best things we've accomplished.
Well, I want to pick up on exactly that point, which is that young people traditionally do not go out and register and vote. Take a look at these numbers. In the last midterm election in 2014, only 19.9% of 18 to 29-year-olds voted. That was the lowest rate of youth turnout in the last 40 years. Delaney, what makes you think that 2018 is going to be any different? And look, I understand the rally is exciting, but we're talking about more than 7 months from now. Are people going to go out, and are they actually going to vote in November? And how do you, in a sense, keep this movement going?
I believe that the strongest thing that we have going for us at this time is the fact that this is a youth's movement. This is led by the youth, and it is led for the youth. And if we can encourage these people to take action, to be participating in our society, in our politics, then that's going to encourage our voters to actually turn out. And that's something that I think is going to continue the momentum, because even when the media leaves, these people are still there and they're still fighting for their own lives.
Let's talk about the government response since the terrible shooting at your high school. In the big spending bill the president just signed, they tighten the background check system and allocate $2.3 billion for school safety. And the Justice Department says it will ban bump stocks. Your state of Florida passed a tougher law. It raises the age you can buy a rifle from 18 to 21, imposes a 3-day waiting period, makes it easier to take guns away from people considered a danger, bans bump stocks, and provides $400 million for school safety. Cameron, what grade do you give the state and the federal response?
The state, I will give a very, very crisp C-, because there are things in what they passed that are very important. Raising the age to 21 is something the majority of the country can get behind. And the 3-day waiting period, all of that, these are great steps in the right direction. As for the country with the actions taken, the federal level, I was not impressed at all, because it's important to make the schools safer, but this doesn't just happen in schools. Shootings are in nightclubs, churches, movie theaters, airports. Yes, it's important to stop school shootings, but this does very little to keep the American people out of the line of fire. What do I want to see? I want to see an assault weapons ban. I want to see high capacity magazines ban. These are things that I don't just want to see these. This is everybody. The age has to be raised to 21. These are things these are important issues, and the fact that nobody is in the bill, they don't say the word gun once. What causes all these shootings? What's the one thing to tie everything together? There's no specific mental health problem that makes all these shootings happen. It's the weapon.
Now here's my 2 cents, and you can feel free to keep the change. There are small ways that we are pushed and pulled in our daily lives. In my opinion, these psychological and emotional triggers are in part why Americans lead the world in the abuse of psychotropic drugs, amphetamines, sleep aids, and PTSD prevalence. The sickness many Americans experience is real, but what causes the illness is part of the deception. Such triggers create impulses in us to act immediately and often in irrational ways. They tug on our heartstrings and other instincts and demand action. More often than not, our reactions are scripted and even predicted by those in power. It is no mere coincidence that in nearly every household in America, an old stationary bike is being used as a clothes rack, or workout videos are still in DVD format, or gyms can oversell their allotted floor space because most people who pay monthly dues only show up a few days out of the month. It's the very reason high schools and colleges and universities throughout the country delay classes and exams and offer disaster counseling, stress healing, and dog and coloring book therapies after Donald Trump's victory. What's awesomely disturbing is the rather obvious fact that these triggers separate us from our better angels. They detour us into a false belief that we believe or say. They detour us into a false belief that what we believe or say is more important than what others believe or think, for that matter. This separation is the driving force behind everything we vehemently argue that we don't want, like systemic racism or misogyny or xenophobia or bullying, as well as all the other forces of darkness. Calling someone a racist, a womanizer, a homophobe, a hater has become normal. These are things children often say because they don't know any better. Now, you can dismiss what I'm saying altogether or choose not to think much of this strategy, but once you begin to realize just how ubiquitous and pervasive its psychological triggers really are in your life, you may have to question whether or not you truly have free will. Dear friends, I wish above all things that you be in health and that you prosper just as your soul prospers. You've been listening to Urban X Real Talk Fitness Radio with your host, Tiaja. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast by downloading our app at tiajae.podbean.com. And while you're at it, don't forget to check out our website at www.urbanxfitness.net. There you will find all of our awesome catalogs of natural nutritional products, designer sportswear, as well as our digital workout books with embedded how-to videos for home and gym use. Also check out our keto, pescatarian, vegan menus, or get more information on our most popular menu, the 4.5. All are available on our online stores, the Urban Experience Fit Stores 1 and 2. And one last thing, please feel free to share our podcast with friends, family, and co-workers. And remember, whether we agree to disagree, know this: I sincerely appreciate and care about each and every one of you. Until next week, as always, walk in health and peace.
I think we all need a pep talk. The world needs to stop being boring. Yeah, you. Boring is easy. Everybody can be boring, but you're gooder than that. Life is not a game, people. Life isn't a cereal either. Well, it is a cereal. And if life is a game, aren't we all on the same team? I mean, really, right? I'm on your team. Be on my team. This is life, people. You got air coming through your nose. You got heartbeat. That means it's time to do something. A poem. Two roads diverged in the woods, and I took the road less traveled. It hurt, man! Really bad. Rocks, thorns, and glass. My pants broke. Wah! Not cool, Robert Frost. But what if there really were two paths? I want to be the one that leads to awesome. It's like that dude Journey said, don't stop believing unless you dream stupid. Then you should get a better dream. I think that's how it goes. Get a better dream and keep going. Keep going, and keep going. What if Michael Jordan have quit? Well, he did quit. No, he retired. Yeah, that's right. He retired. But before that, in high school, what if he quit when he didn't make the team? He would have never made Space Jam. And I love Space Jam. What will be your Space Jam? What will you create will make the world awesome? Nothing if you keep sitting there. That's why I'm talking to you today. This is your time. This is my time. It's our time. We can make every day better for each other. If we're all on the same team, let's start acting like it. We got work to do. We can cry about it, or we can dance about it. We were made to be awesome. Let's get out there. I don't know everything. I'm just a kid. But I do know this. It's everybody's duty to give the world a reason to dance. So get to it. You've just been pet talked. Create something that will make the world awesome. Play ball.